You know, every single product out there has a secret life, a hidden story. And in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and map out that entire journey, the parts you see and especially the parts you don't. Think about it for a second. Your product has a story. It sounds so simple, right? But it's actually a huge idea. Everything you make, I don't care if it's a simple coffee cup or a super complex piece of machinery, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, a whole life story. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Most companies, they only know half of it. They're only reading one chapter of the book, the chapter they write themselves, and that leaves a massive blind spot. I mean, of course, you know what happens inside your factory, right? You know the assembly line, you know your team, you see the energy bills. But what about before all that? Where did those materials come from? And what about after? What happens when your product gets tossed out? Those are the missing chapters. All right, so let's dive into this half-told story. We're really talking about what you see versus the full picture, the stuff that's usually invisible. It's kind of like an iceberg, you know? What happens inside your factory, that's just the tiny tip you see above the water. The real mystery, the huge, massive part of the story, is everything that's hidden underneath, the before and the after. So you're probably asking, okay, how do I see what's under the water? How do I get the full story? Well, good news. There's actually a tool designed for exactly that. It's called a life cycle assessment, or LCA for short. And really, you can just think of it as a complete biography of your product. It's a scientific method that traces your product through every single stage of its existence to measure its real environmental impact, from cradle to grave. All right, you with me? Let's actually walk through this journey. We're going to follow a product's life from the very, very beginning to the very end, exactly how an LCA would do it. This whole journey breaks down into 5 main stages, and we're going to hit every single one, starting right at the beginning, where the stuff to make your stuff comes from. Okay, stage 1, raw material extraction. This is where we start digging, literally. Where does your steel come from? That plastic? What about the cardboard for your packaging? It's not just about the material itself. What's the environmental cost to get it out of the ground and all the way to your factory door? Every little piece has a backstory. Next up, stage 2, manufacturing. Now, this is your home turf, right? The part you know like the back of your hand. But an LCA makes you get really specific. It forces you to put a number on everything. How much energy are you really consuming? How much water are you using? What waste are you generating? It's all about the data. Then we get to stage 3, transport and distribution. Because your product doesn't just teleport to the customer, right? We've got to think about all the fuel burn to move it. From your factory to a warehouse, from that warehouse to a retailer, from the retailer to the person who buys it. Every single mile counts. And this is a big one that people forget. The story's absolutely not over when you sell it. Stage 4 is all about product use. Think about a washing machine. The biggest impact it has isn't making it in the factory. It's the tons of electricity and water it's going to use for the next 10 years in someone's home. That's part of its story too. And that brings us to the final chapter, stage 5, end of life. This is the part that's so easy to ignore. When it's thrown away, where does it actually go? A landfill? Does it get recycled? Maybe it's incinerated? Whatever happens, that is its final mark on the world. So, we've done all this work. We've mapped the whole journey. What's the point? Why does knowing this full story even matter? Well, it's simple. This knowledge, it's not just a bunch of numbers. It's power. For one thing, it gives you the power to redesign. The LCA shines a spotlight on your biggest problem areas. And hey, maybe it's not your factory at all. Maybe it's one specific material you're sourcing. Once you know that, you can zero in on the problem and start to innovate. And once you can redesign, you can reduce. You're not just guessing anymore. You're not throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. You're making smart, targeted decisions based on real data. And you know what? Lowering your impact often means lowering your costs. It's a win-win. And finally, you get the power to report. And I mean report with total confidence. No more of those vague, "we're eco-friendly" claims. Now you have the receipts. You have hard evidence from the entire life cycle to prove what you're doing. And that builds some serious trust with everyone. Customers, investors, you name it. So, all of this brings us right back to where we began, but now, hopefully, you're seeing things a little differently. Look, your product has a full story. It's written out there, from the moment its materials come from the earth to the day it's thrown away. So, the final question is, do you know it?